Welcome into this community update, everyone. I hope you're having a great Monday morning. I'm Isaiah Buchanan here along with Grace Sharkey. And Grace, it is a Monday morning, and something that could probably ruin the weekend that you just had and the beginning of your week could be something that a lot of people have already probably had to deal with, and that is freight fraud. But coming up tomorrow is a really big day to put some awareness out about freight fraud. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, some of you might have saw over the weekend as well, like Chicago had a whole train looted. We're seeing this kind of stuff all over the place. And so I'm excited to announce, along with some really incredible leaders in this space, that we are bringing awareness to freight fraud in particular, with October 15th, tomorrow, Tuesday, being the first ever Freight Fraud Awareness Day, brought to you by a number of incredible sponsors and advocates of these issues, including Truckstop, Verified Carrier, Freight Validate, a number of insurance companies as well, and Genlogs. And all of these companies have, of course, technology that helps fight against freight fraud in particular. But what really gets me excited is a big part of fighting freight fraud, honestly, is fessing up to when these situations happen, and quite literally bringing awareness to not only regulatory bodies, but the rest of the industry as well when these situations occur, so we can do our best to fight against them.
And Grace, there are several different tactics that people are using to commit freight fraud. We know double brokering is a big one, but what are some of the others that we're seeing in the industry right now?
Yeah, double brokering is it's like the consequence of fraud, right? It's stealing people's identity, whether that's through phishing channels, through emails, through load boards, and different scenarios like that. We're seeing a huge uptick of what we call business email compromise. So companies sending out emails with, let's say it says, goamazon.com or something like that, pretending to be Amazon or pretending to be a different company. And then, of course, using that to steal the identity of carriers and broker freight that's not supposed to be brokered, or just stealing freight from either load boards or carriers as well. But there's a huge economic impact in total, about $112 billion. Just in 2022 alone, we saw a huge uptick in the retail aspect of that, right? Stealing from trucks at individual docks and different distribution centers. Like I said, this weekend we saw people literally just raiding, stopped a train in Chicago, which we see that often as well. And pointing out even, of course, the uptick we've seen from just individuals stealing from stores. You've probably noticed a number of retail stores adding different security initiatives, right? More things behind those wonderful plastic or glass walls, right? That we have to ask someone to go and open up in order to get those products. We're seeing that across the board in all different types of retail, not just consumer goods, but clothing items, etc., across the board. And it's starting to just total up. And because we are starting to bring awareness to it, I think there are regulatory bodies, the FMCSA, the DOT, the DOJ, who are starting to realize, okay, maybe this is actually starting to be a huge problem that is trickling down into what we are all paying at our favorite retailers as well.
Grace, we've even had a little bit of fraud issues here at FreightWaves with people that are pretending to be our founder and CEO, Craig Fuller, and sending texts to employees saying, hey, I need, so many gift cards, Visa gift cards, or whatever the case may be. So, it's extending beyond the supply chain industry and into other areas as well. So it's a really big issue. So are there any things that individual states have been doing to try to limit what is happening on the freight fraud front?
Yeah, the best thing about this wonderful United States of America is that we do have our own jurisdictions and local jurisdictions that I think, if to give anyone tips out there of something that you could do today, if you're a freight broker or a part of the freight industry, even a trucking company in particular, get to know your local jurisdictions. Reach out and figure out who the local FBI units are, who's in charge of those, who you should be speaking to when these situations occur, right? A lot of times I think the fight against freight fraud happens after the fraud has happened, which is always just too late. So I know Memphis is really picked up and watching what's happening in their sector of the United States. We've seen an uptick of watching for freight fraud in other areas like Louisiana as well, and ports, cities too, just making sure that what's coming out of the ports is getting to the right people, as I think that's a big issue too. So yeah, for everyone out there, get to know your local leaders. And I will say, talking with individuals behind Freight Fraud Awareness Day in particular, this is just year one. What we're looking to do is updating the site over the next year, making it easier for individuals to reach out to their representatives and send mass mailings and letters, and letting these individuals know, hey, this is a big problem that you might not realize is happening in your districts. But again, I think until people make aware, especially aware to the right parties, it's not just about going on Twitter, going on social media and complaining to complain, but reaching out to the people that actually can get something done. This is what the main goal of the group is at the end of the day.
An open and easy line of communication, plus being proactive rather than reactive, are some of the steps that you can take to help prevent that freight fraud. Grace, if people want to get involved with Freight Fraud Awareness Day, where can they go to get more information?
Yeah, easiest website to remember, because it's what we all want, stopfreightfraud.com. Again, just stopfreightfraud.com. You can learn more. You can get key facts for those watching who might not understand how crazy this industry is getting when it comes to fraud. There's a lot of great resources on the site, so go check it out. Reach out to some of the advocates and sponsors and see how you can help out with their individual awareness priorities as well.
And Grace, we've got the stock out coming up here in just a few minutes. I'm guessing that you and Mike are going to be getting into a little bit more about freight fraud on today's show, right?
Yeah, we might get into a little bit. We're actually inviting on one of our most popular guests as well for our audience, Brittain Ladd, a consultant in the industry. He always likes to come to the show with some hot takes. So we're going to get into Starbucks' new CEO. Might get into a little bit with the Shein and Temu and what we're seeing with Chinese e-commerce companies as well. But we usually get a little bit of freight fraud in on every episode. As this big of a situation this is becoming. Go check out some of my articles as well. You can learn some fun facts in those, I guess sad facts, when it comes to freight fraud in particular. But yeah, we should have a really fun episode coming up here in just a little bit.
And if people want to check out that episode, Grace, where do they need to go?
Well, they can just stick to where they're watching this right now for the next 20, 30 minutes. Or you can head to our YouTube page. And of course, after the show is aired, you can check it out anywhere you listen to podcasts as well.
Grace, thank you so much for checking in with us for this community update and giving people the awareness and helping people know about how big of a problem that freight fraud is in this country and some of the things that they can do to help prevent it from actually happening. Thank you again, Grace.
Thanks, Isaiah.